You know, while everybody's focusing on killer storms in Dhaka, two things happened very quietly. CNN says those things should deeply worry the GOP. Now, they're talking about the retirement of GOP Congressman Charlie Dent as well as Dave Reichert. It's particularly notable because both men moderates in swing districts. Here's part of Dent's statement about why he decided to step aside. Quote, as a member of the governing wing of the Republican Party, I've worked to install stability, certainty, and predictability in Washington. Regrettably, that has not been easy given the disruptive outside influences that profit from increased polarization and ideological rigidity that leads to dysfunction, disorder, and chaos. Now, disorder and chaos is a good way to describe Washington nowadays. Republicans still in a tizzy over the president cutting a deal with Democrats to fund the government and hike the debt ceiling for 3 months and also fund Hurricane Harvey relief. They were blindsided, the Republicans say. Their words here, and still apparently they're not ready to get over it. Arizona Senator John McCain, he had the following to say about it. Quote, I haven't seen anything like it before. I have no way of divining his motives. I'm a pretty intelligent guy, but I don't understand this. Nebraska Senator Ben Sasse, another Republican, said the following. The Pelosi-Schumer-Trump deal is bad. Ouch. Idaho Congressman Mike Simpson in Politico said, a 3-month debt ceiling? Why not do a daily debt ceiling? He went on to say, he's the best deal maker ever. Don't you know? I mean, he's got a book out saying the same thing. All right. Now, Andrew caught up with Senator Schumer today, who was in Westchester, and asked him about the deal that he helped cut with the president. Here's what he had to say.
What this means is that it's good for the country. We avoided default. We avoided government shutting down. But we also paved the way for bipartisan agreement in a few months. For the first 6 months, as you know, one party, in this case the Republicans, had decided to go at it alone, and it hasn't worked. Nothing has gotten done. And so yesterday at the meeting, 2 days ago at the meeting, I think President Trump correctly recognized that the only way we're going to solve these problems is a bipartisan way.
And when asked about Dhaka while aboard Air Force One, the president made it clear he wanted to work with Democrats on this one also. Now, you'll remember a whole lot of Republicans, led by House Speaker Paul Ryan, are against getting rid of Dhaka, putting them at odds with the White House. So let's bring in our panel. We got Bill O'Reilly, former Republican strategist, now a member of the Conservative Party. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Richard St. Paul, Republican strategist, former vice chair for the National Black Republican Association. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Okay. First off, before you tell me everything's great and everything else, I could have done 30 other quotes and sound bites, all right, from Republicans who are PO'd. I mean, you literally had Paul Ryan saying, well, we're not getting rid of debt limits. What are you talking about? 2 minutes later, he was in a room with the president who said he was doing just that thing, and he and McConnell looked like they just got, blindsided, which they did. How mad are Republicans right now, and do you think they should be mad at the president?
Well, look, the president has his agenda that he wants to put through, and he's always said that. He says, I want to accomplish the things that I promised in my campaign. Building a wall, tax reform, immigration reform. And look, who was going to argue with him in terms of him reaching across the aisle? This is what people in the United States want. Well, look, his own party is infighting it, and there are certain coalitions in the party that we know of which are against a lot of everything. So he's going to need Democrats if he wants to put forward his agenda, and he knows that. But this is the first olive branch we've seen since the president has been
there's form and substance.
in office.
I can argue it's good policy, pushing back the debt limit. We don't need that hanging over our heads. But at the same time, didn't bother telling him, didn't bother consulting him, and who wins and who loses here? I think the Democrats look good out of it, and I understand how the president in some way can tell everybody he's a bipartisan guy, but Republicans in December are going to have to deal with this thing all over again.
Right. I was going to say, I was surprised that Senator Schumer didn't begin to laugh during the interview with Andrew. He probably walked into the men's room afterwards and just cried. He's been very happy for a couple of days. We talked on this set on election night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning about exactly this. And we all thought that this might occur where, and we'll see if it lasts, where a President Trump would kind of move into the FDR Democrat mode and start to deal with Democrats. I don't know why the Republicans didn't expect this. I don't know why they threw so much faith into Trump based on his background. But this is the new Donald Trump, and I think he's going to like it because he's not fighting upstream right now. He's going with the stream where a lot of people want to be, and he's going to enjoy the good publicity from it. He'll get it.
FDR Democrat mode. There's a guy in Hyde Park flipping over in his grave 3 or 4 times right about
infrastructure,
now.
that type of thing.
Keep in mind, the divisions within the Republican Party that existed before the election last year never got solved. It just surprised everybody that a Republican actually won the election, but there's still the split that we've been talking about between the ultra-conservative and the more moderate governing. And by the way, that same split is beginning to exist on the Democratic side too. So the Republican Party has to figure out exactly what it wants to do. And keep in mind, none of the people on that spectrum were the populists that Donald Trump was going into all of this. So he's sort of operating on a different continuum than the entire party is, and they got to figure out, where they're going to back him and where they're not.
Can I just just one other second? Is that one thing and one key indicator I heard or didn't hear throughout the campaign was Trump talking about debt. He never addressed it. He never addressed entitlement reform, all those things that real conservatives like, which I like.
Right, yeah.
He was the debt king. Remember, that was the thing. I'm the debt king. And as a conservative, that was the thing that bothered me. One thing that bothered me throughout the election was he never addressed it. And they shouldn't be surprised that he doesn't care about those things.
But Dominic, when it comes to Democrats, they hate him. In the last 8 months, I haven't seen them be able to agree on anything as much as they did about this president, what he was doing, who he was appointing, what he potentially may have been involved with Russia and whatever else. So one thing, they could have been running for dog catcher in Minnesota. The first words out of their mouth are Trump, raise money and also, be the man in town. So my point is, yes, Schumer and Pelosi were ready to give a wet kiss to the president after the deal they got. But how much do they really want to wrap their arms around this president, given all the investigations going on and everything else? Andrew's right, or mentioned before, infrastructure could be next on the docket here. Will they do anything with anyone?
This is a win-win, Richard, for the Democrats. On issues that you like, on the agenda that you want to put forward, you deal with the president. On issues that are polarizing, on issues that you don't like, you keep the traditional relationship that you have with him. Remember, and I know you know this better than anybody at this table, politics make for strange bedfellows, okay? So if Pelosi and Schumer can get something done, why not? And they can say, hey, we're bipartisan. Remember when President Trump fired FBI Director Comey? Remember what he referred to him as in that meeting with the Russian ambassador? He called Comey, quote, a nut. So you don't think he's thinking the same thing, to Andrew's point about his Republican Party? You think that he wants to deal with the far right of his own party and these folks that are demanding offsets for everything in the budget, and you can't please these folks no matter what you do? What Trump is doing is pulling a Bloomberg. He's pulling a Michael Bloomberg. Bloomberg got elected as a Republican, got along with the Democrats once he was in office.
But it's not just right-wing guys in red districts. You're starting to see people calling Paul Ryan a rhino. You're starting to see some of the Republican talking heads or conservative voices calling Trump a turncoat. The guy had 35% approval ratings, right? How does this help him? I don't see swing voters all of a sudden throwing their arms back around him of what they've seen in 8 months. Is it good or bad politics what he did in terms of he's still got to come home to somebody? Who's he coming home to?
Well, look, the only approval rating lower than 35% would be that of Congress, which is about 13%. This is perfect timing for the president. Here's why. You have a Republican Party who needs a win, right? They have the House, they have the Senate, they have the White House.
I'm with you.
They need a win.
But the Democrats got the win, not them.
No, hold on. But you have Democrats who are in shambles, who are fighting to figure out what their future is going to be. Is it going to be the Bernie Sanders of the Democratic Party or more of the Clintons?
You're right, but as long as they say they're not Trump, they got a chance in November.
Yeah, but they also need to figure out what their platform is. And they're saying, hey, we need to focus on economic development. And the only way they can do this is by working with the president, because there are going to be some Republicans and there are going to be Democrats who are going to support that particular agenda. Now look at Clinton. Clinton, when he was president, had to work with a Republican Congress, and he figured that out.
Can I just caution everybody to slow down a little bit? Just because this victory that Pelosi and Schumer got was a process victory. It just delays things 3 months, and they got Harvey funding. They didn't get anything that they weren't otherwise going to get. It's just the timing of it. It's not like the president changed his mind on DACA, or changed his mind on the Muslim ban, or changed his mind on tax reform, or changed his mind on healthcare, or changed his mind on anything that actually matters. So before Democrats start doing too many cartwheels, and before too many Republicans start lighting their hair
I will only
on
say
fire.
this one point. I got to break. I think Bill's right in one thing. For all the people who said, You have no idea who you're dealing with. This guy was a Democrat less than 2 years ago. He contributed to Hillary's campaign. He's not one of us. Now they can finally say, I told you.
If there's something substantive there.
We'll see. All right, coming up next. Now, while President Trump makes deals with Democrats, other parts of his administration, they're taking a hard turn right now. Are those two things connected? Is one kind of a give? Well, we'll also get a get? Well, we'll explain about that and more after this.